Sean has launched a campaign with me.
What?
Is it the same campaign that was the limited ideas thing?
Hey, how's it
Hey
going?
man, I'm Gemma.
Oh, nice to meet you, Gemma.
That's Tracy.
Nice to meet you guys.
Hey.
And Blair. I'm doing a live stream. I've got the link. Do you want me to send that to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or should I send that to?
Yeah, send it to me. So it's just Tracy, Tracy, at Pozible.com.
Too easy.
Cheers.
Is that 1Z? Well, 1Z. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hello.
For the presentation, we'll probably actually need the one mic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Too easy. I'm just Why not? Hello.
Sounds good to me.
Hello. Sweet. Hello.
If you could just keep that playing during the whole thing, that would be amazing.
That's in the background.
Yeah.
Robbie rang just before, just saying he was going to get something to eat, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you know what time this thing starts?
6:30.
6:30, sweet, that's what I thought. Yeah, he thought it started at 5:30 and he was like, oh, can they go check at the door if it's 5:30? But yeah.
Oh.
Dude, he too goes, it's 6:30. Yeah. But,
All good.
pretty good.
What's going on? What time does it start? It was at 6:30. He was like, oh, but Robbie thought it started at 5:30. I was like, I wish. He's like, because he's just gone for some food. I was like, should he have done that if he thought it started at 5:30?
Oh no, I think he's going to get some food now.
dare you keep this from me? It's a complete joke. He's like, I didn't know. I don't talk to them anymore. Like, I just went to school with them. Oh, I was like, I kept going. I'm like, how could you do this to me? And it was really funny. Anyway, I just tweeted about him because he's nominated for Mark of the Week. I said, clearly Robbie's is the best. And Brian liked it. He's like, yeah, I see this. It's so funny.
What is this app that I have to download for my receipts?
Oh, zero XERO. Keeping it shows you. So that should be mine. There we go.
Zero.
should post stuff on your personal LinkedIn. That's very good of you.
About my podcasts.
Oh, true.
This boost.
Aww. I like how Matt's the only one who ever likes the Pozible LinkedIn.
I do too.
Oh yeah, I do sometimes when I log in.
I've been checking it more and more recently because I'm trying to like up the game.
Mm.
Oh my god.
start again? I can't remember.
6:30.
6:30, right? Sorry, I've had a busy day.
No, we totally know that feeling. That's
Yeah.
why we're only just sitting here for 5 minutes.
So is it just you two, or are there other?
Hello, here for the film workshop.
Hey, welcome.
And then you, Robbie.
And then me, yeah.
I feel like we've met before. You look really familiar.
No.
And I don't know how, but we've definitely met.
I'm from Perth originally, so.
Hi. Here for the film workshop? Yeah.
Cool.
Come on in, have a seat.
Let's see.
I do have friends from Perth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean I've been here for about a year and a half.
Yes, no, we've met.
Probably. Do you live around Fitzroy?
I live in Northcote, but do you ever do music stuff?
Sometimes. Yeah, I think there's few gigs and stuff.
Maybe for that.
Do you have anything to do with Killjoy, just like circus thing? No. Oh, I was helping them out. That's it. That's all I've done. So there it is. Fitzroy wandering around, helping out them.
Yeah, probably walk past you in front
Yeah,
of you.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be it.
All right. Figure out what I'm gonna do. You guys can like ask me questions. That would be really.
Yeah, cool.
Like
I'll
just
do that.
prompt it a bit.
Yeah,
I don't
that'd
really
be
have
sweet.
any written for that.
Your project is really good though.
Yeah, yeah. We only we didn't crowdfund the whole thing. We just crowdfunded the post production.
Yeah, so most films do it that way.
Right. Okay. Cool. Maybe I'll wait down the front. Just tell people this way.
Is that alright? Do you want me?
Yeah.
You're bored.
Like, east west up?
Yeah.
So the guy that was going to do the guest thing, his film looked really cool. Was that big in Japan?
Yeah, I did a presentation with him at Melbourne Documentary Film Festival a couple
Right.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Big in Japan is awesome.
Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, I've never seen it.
You definitely try to see it. I think it's got a few showings coming up as well, screenings coming. It's so good.
Yeah,
And
and so
they
he
did-
crowdfunded the whole doco.
So what they did, they actually self-funded the trip and the 2 years over in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and then they crowdfunded the final parts once they were back here.
Yeah.
They got a little bit of grant funding and things like that, but I think they got about 28 grand, 29
Right.
grand,
Yeah.
through a campaign. So
Okay.
they kind of split it up amongst a whole bunch of things. But they literally came up with this idea one night that they wanted to make him famous. And then we're trying to work out ways to do it. So they said, let's move to Japan. They moved to Japan like a month later and lived there for 2 years.
Okay.
It's mental.
Yeah,
But
because it looked cool. It had the sort of the press looked really cool.
Yeah, the movie's actually so good because at the documentary film festival, it was a screening as well.
Okay, cool.
It's so good.
Awesome.
But
Well, I know where you might. Posible's on Gertrude Street.
Langridge.
Like,
But yeah,
I
it's the
live
same.
there. I live on Islington Street. That's
Oh, I've
probably-
definitely walked past
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's like right on the corner.
Yeah, I know. I've walked past it. Now I know. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
I live next to Possible.
Near the silos?
Yeah, I'm in the silence. That's why.
I looked at an apartment in there.
No, did you?
Maybe that's
I'm not in
why.
the silo bit though. I'm off to the side of it. But I'm
I
in the
looked
silo.
at one of the
complex.
ground floor,
Oh yeah.
like 4 months ago maybe.
It'd be nice and close to work.
Well, I bought in Northcote, a little
Oh, okay.
further away, yeah.
Right.
But it might have been a little bit too close, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Good buffer. Yeah.
No excuses.
Yeah, do you go to like the street cafe, that coffee shop?
Yeah, we go to street. We go to All Press a lot because it's
Oh, yeah.
right, like literally next to us.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
And a few of my friends work there, so it's easy.
There's that Japanese place near Vice Magazine. It's on Brickwood Street.
Schoolhouse.
That was cool.
Oh, there's a sushi place and there's
Yeah, yeah.
Schoolhouse Studios. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think Schoolhouse are actually moving,
Oh, okay.
from what I heard.
What's that? Oh, it looks. Is it an architecture? It's like just a big office space. Just like is it like?
The one next to ours.
Yeah. Is that just create? Can you just rent a space there? Or?
Yeah. Well, you can rent a space in ours.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know about theirs.
Yeah, 'cause I
Everything's
didn't know.
really weird around there.
Yeah, yeah.
You can never tell. But
Yeah,
the
I'm trying to figure it out.
grass on the outside of the building is cool.
Yeah.
A quiet little spot though, which is good.
Yeah, it's good.
screening
Yeah.
in their hometown.
Right, like Tug. There's one called Tug in the US. Is that,
Yeah, I think someone referenced that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the next step from crowdfunding your film to crowdsourcing
Yeah.
your screenings.
So they'll have a relationship with the exhibition, with an exhibitor, and then they'll.
Yeah, with
organise-
different cinemas around the
Yeah.
country and small country towns like places like Margaret River and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's actually awesome because it feeds on what you've done in your crowdfunding. So they've given us tips in terms of what to tell people they shouldn't offer as rewards when they're crowdfunding a film.
Yeah.
Which I'll obviously touch on, but it's really handy because I'm not a film person. I don't know that much about film. I know how to crowdfund a film, but not how to do all that other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
So it's really awesome that they've kind of given us that info because we launched the film site last week, the platform, and I spoke to Danny heaps in the lead up to that, and it was really great. So, yeah, hopefully that helps people as well. Helps make more money as well, like down the track.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I come from a music kind of world, so coming in and I did a music workshop in my first month and stuff, and it went super well. And we've been building up to wanting to do this, but
Right.
I needed to learn a bit before I
Right.
could
Yeah. Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's certainly a lot to learn, and yeah, I found that. When I was doing it, it was just like
Yeah.
on the fly. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I just need to figure it out.
There are some basic principles that apply to absolutely everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when you can do it more specifically in the industry that you're wanting to fund, it makes such a difference. Like music campaigns, after we did the film workshop, they went from something like 74% success rate to 92. Like 92% success for music projects.
Yeah, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And it just makes a difference when you can give real life examples to
Yeah,
those people.
yeah.
So hopefully that does the same here
Yeah.
for people. We get a lot of student films from Singapore and Malaysia come through, which is kind of awesome and
Yeah,
weird.
right.
Yeah. They just have a little hub of people and we'll find 1 week we'll get 15 of them and then we won't get any for a few weeks and we'll get a whole bunch again.
Yeah.
So it's obviously with their cycle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, with the distribution platform that you guys are going to start doing, is that just for international, or would that be domestic?
I'm pretty sure it's Australia-wide.
Oh, so it'll be a domestic release, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I was thinking about that. I was like, there's different sales deals.
Yeah.
Like if someone retained domestic rights, they could do that. But if they had signed an international sales, they wouldn't be able to do it because then it would be available.
Yeah. So we'll include the contact for them in the email to everyone afterwards. So, and there's links to FanForce and everything on our film site.
Oh yeah.
So people can find all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny's a legend. So, and I met him for the first time actually at the documentary film festival.
Okay.
And he's just like super enthusiastic all the
They
time.
see the fan force.
He's the FanForce guy, yeah. Just like super into it. And he actually, Big in Japan were the first kind of major film that went from Pozible across to FanForce. And it worked super well for them. And they just got distribution across a whole bunch of platforms. So
Yeah, right. Okay.
yeah, it's kind of a big stepping stone for them into the next kind of big
Yeah,
major
definitely.
films.
Yeah. So was he a producer on that? He just.
No,
started-
Big in Japan just went to them
Oh,
afterwards.
okay, right. Yeah.
And that was kind of the first big league. Because obviously Dave from Big in Japan knew Just
Cool.
take a seat. We'll get
Cool.
started pretty soon.
Oh, hey. Just coming good. Rain started coming down the worst possible
Yeah,
time.
I know.
Were you on that 109 as well?
No, I drove.
Oh yeah, the 109. There was a collision or something like on the street.
Oh, really?
All 4 trams got delayed. Got pushed back by like 10 minutes.
I feel like it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happened to me the other day.
So, yeah, I saw
And,
you.
like,
I saw you.
crashed into a car.
Yeah, you and Beth were on the same train.
Mm.
I saw that and I took the bus instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Should have. But I was actually already on the train.
Oh yeah.
I ran into the car. Mm.
You get crowdfunding for your campsite.
I think so, yeah.
It's gonna be a good idea.
Horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Is
slides nicely. If she slides through.
Yeah, well, you know, like you could call this.
Nah. Just because it would just take up too much. And it's fucking raining anymore. I,
Hey everyone, I'm Gemma. I'm from Pozible. This is Tracy. She's also from Pozible. Using a mic because there's a live stream, so I'm not being weird. So we're going to talk about crowdfunding for film tonight. We'll use some specific examples that are relevant to you guys, especially for student film. Questions we'll do at the end, and then we'll do a pitch session as well. So if anyone wants to pitch their film for 30 seconds, we'll do that at the end as well. Robbie is also going to have a little bit of a chat because he's also run a film campaign before. So that's kind of how we'll structure it. And then if you want to ask us any specific questions related to your project afterwards that you don't want to ask in front of everyone, we can do that too. So yeah, let's start. So a little bit about Pozible. We're based in Collingwood, so if anyone wants to just pop by the office, always willing to have people around. Launched in 2010 up in Sydney and then moved to Melbourne pretty quickly after that. We've had it's actually $62 million pledged in Australian dollars to this point from 104 different countries, and we've got a 57% success rate. The film's success rate is about 74%, I believe, as well. So, some basics about Pozible. We're all or nothing and we're rewards based. These are the two most important things about Pozible. So all or nothing just means you must reach a target in order to receive any funds. Rewards based, you must offer rewards in return for pledges. We'll go into some rewards a little bit further down the track, but we'll just talk quickly about why we're all or nothing. This is a good safety net for fraudulent projects, so as a supporter you feel more comfortable pledging. It's low risk, so it's not going to cost you anything if you don't reach your target. You're not going to be charged any fees or anything. As I said, supporters are more confident because they know that they'll be able to, the project will actually get completed because there'll be enough money to complete the project. And all or nothing projects tend to raise quite a bit more money than what flexible funding projects do because there's an urgency about it. Now this is the more interesting stuff. So, when you're setting up your campaign page, these are the 5 most important things. So these are the things you should think about first. We will also be sending these slides out to you all tomorrow as well. So if you're frantically writing, don't stress. So your target, your mission, your time frame, your budget, and your rewards. So let's go through these individually. So, setting your target is, I think, the scariest part for most people. You want to be realistic because we are all or nothing. You want to be able to hit that target, but you also want to be able to complete your project. So, it's finding that balance. So, we find this is a really handy equation to work out. Yeah, come on in. Crowdfunding workshop? Yeah, come on in. So, you want to make your target realistic, and this is a handy equation to work that out. So we find that the 30% mark tends to be the tipping point between people not being super confident in your project and not being willing to pledge to people that you don't know actually getting on board and putting their money in. So you want your core supporters, so your friends, family, people close to you, you want them to make up that 30% so that then other people, once all these people have gotten on board early, other people will jump on. So if you multiply your core supporters and be modest with it, it can't hurt to be modest. Multiply that by $50, which is the most popular pledge amount on Pozible, and that should make up about 30% of your target. Hey. And when we go into the rollout plan, this will make a lot more sense. But does that equation make sense to everyone? Because it can be a little bit confusing sometimes. All good? So, we say that we're all or nothing, but this is a way for us to be a little bit more flexible. So what you can actually do is use stretch targets to set your target lower, and then once you reach that, you can set higher targets on top of it for the rest of your time frame. So once you've started your campaign, your time frame remains the same. You can't shorten your campaign length even if you reach your target in one day. So it's the best way to make use of that time and keep people pledging right until the end. So this is an example of a musician named Bethany Jolly. She set a $6,000 target to record a record, and she hit it pretty early. So then she set a stretch target of $8,000 saying that, okay, now I will go and tour Australia if I reach the stretch target. If she didn't reach the $8,000, she was still going to receive all the funds because she'd reached her initial target. So don't be scared that you're going to stretch it and then lose everything. That's not going to happen. This is another good way of updating your supporters too. And you can make use of these as a value add for supporters to this point. So maybe if you reach a stretch target, everyone that has already pledged gets something extra. That maybe costs you nothing, but it gets them promoting it because they want that extra thing. So it could be bonus footage or something like that. So try to think of it in value add terms and try to plan your campaign with the idea of stretch targets in mind. So maybe you actually need $10,000, but if you get 7, you can do most of the project and then you can work out the other 3,000 later. Set your target at 7, and then if you hit it, you can stretch it to 10 and still try to aim for that. Your mission statement is super important, and Tracy approves all the projects every morning, or she reviews all the projects every morning. And I used to have that job as well, and I can't tell you the number of times we see projects that we don't even know what they're trying to fund. It takes so long reading through the project to understand where the money's going to be going. Make your mission statement the clearest thing on the page, the first thing people see. We want to, come on in. We want to see from the first sentence who you are and what you're funding. After that, you can do all sorts of other things, but make it super clear what you're funding. If you're doing things like poems or lyrics or bits of history or quotes to try and make your campaign page look nicer, that's all great, but still make your mission statement the first sentence on your page. It can be as simple as, I'm Jane Smith and I'm looking to make a documentary to tell the history of the Australian music industry. Simple, easy, and then you can do whatever flowery stuff after that you want, whatever fits your personality, but make that the first thing. And I know I'm being really full on about that, but it makes such a difference. Time frame is another thing that once your campaign is launched, you can't change. So your target and your time frame are the two things that you can't change once you've launched. You can run a campaign for up to 60 days, but we recommend 4 weeks. 60 days can be a little bit long. There would be reasons why some people would run 60-day campaigns, but 4 weeks is the sweet spot. And this is why our old GM used to call this the U-curve of doom. I just call it the U-curve. I'm a bit less dramatic. So what we find is that campaigns start really strong because they're new, they're exciting, your core supporters are jumping on board. And then every single campaign will hit a lull, every single one. And then they end strong because there's urgency about the project. We need to get it over the line, we need to jump on board, get this reward before it closes. We find 4 weeks is the perfect balance between maximising these two ends and minimising the lull. If you run it for longer than that, more often than not, it will just elongate the lull in the middle. It's not going to elongate the other sides. There may be reasons why you run a longer campaign. Maybe you're running an event that you're organising pledges to come through for, or that you're using as promotion. That may be why you run it for a little bit longer, but don't think that just because you're running a longer campaign, you're going to get more money. It's stressful to run a campaign, and you don't want to make that any longer than you need it to be. Budget. So obviously, when you're planning a project like this, you need to be doing your budget anyway. Supporters want to know where their money is going, how you're budgeting it, and if you're showing that you've thought these things through, it makes supporters more kind of confident in your ability to execute the project. Pie charts are great. Don't just do a list of item and money because people glaze over. A pie chart's super easy, and if you're doing a pie chart, you don't have to do it in dollar values, you can do it in percentages of your target. This is an example of a really nice pie chart. I like this one. We have some links to some really great online tools that you can use if you're not comfortable with Excel or anything like that. There are some where you just plug in numbers and they'll spit out something that looks as good as this. Come on in. So we'll send that to you in an email tomorrow. But this is super important, and even just when it comes to you doing your project, not even as a campaign, doing a budget can kind of make you more realistic about your project. So this is a handy exercise to do either way. Rewards. This is the fun part. So people aren't donating to you, they're pledging to you. They're pledging in the knowledge that they're receiving something in return. So when you're promoting your campaign, ask for pledges or support. Don't ask for donations because it's not what they are. We recommend 5 to 7 reward options. The $50 reward, as we said, is the most popular, followed by $25 and $100. So those should be your 3 pillar rewards that you plan. So they should be the first ones you think of. Make them as broadly appealing as possible so that as many people who jump on the page will be interested in getting them, and don't limit them. So you may have some higher value rewards that you've maybe got 1 or 2 available of. Don't make these ones limited. We like to say priceless and worthless rewards are great. A good example of this, come on in. A good example of this is music related, so I apologize, but Eskimo Joe in 2012 ran a campaign where they had a guitar that they played at Blues Fest. It broke, so it was useless to them because they couldn't play it anymore. But to a fan, that's priceless, right? So that went for $1,500 really quickly. So that was a really handy thing for them to give away. There may be things like that for you. So extra footage may be kind of priceless and worthless for you guys because it's there already. You maybe don't have to do too much to it, things like that. Try to think of those things that won't take a lot of your time or money to create, but you can offer to people that'll be interesting. We say 5 to 7 rewards. Try to launch with about that amount. You can always add rewards as the campaign is going. So this is a really handy marketing strategy for in that lull period of that U-curve. If you've got a reward that you're planning to add 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, that is a way for you to promote it and bring people back to your page. That's a really handy thing to do. We found it super effective. So try to plan those ahead as well. So maybe you've got your list of rewards in advance and you choose which ones are going to go up straight away or which ones you're going to add later. If a reward hasn't been chosen and you're halfway through your campaign, you can delete it. Just try to be reactive to what people are wanting from you so that it looks like you're considering what people want and not just what you want. So rewards tend to come in 3 different categories: tangible, experiential, or recognition. An example of a recognition reward is just a thanks in the credits or a social media shout out. Some other good examples, soundtracks to your movies. Obviously depends on what sort of arrangement you've got with the musicians, but if you can offer a soundtrack, that tends to do quite well. Another example is killer poster featuring autographs from the cast and crew and copy of the film and soundtrack and poetic shout out on Facebook or Instagram. So that's just a whole bunch of little things put together, $50. And then you can do a lot more of these kind of corporate higher value rewards. So this one's from Stringy Bark, a film recently that more than doubled its target. They got $31,000. Corporate or association plus. Name in logo and credits plus access to set during shooting for inclusion in behind the scenes footage and making a Stringy Bark documentary. These people also got everything that came before it. So they got $7,000 just from that one reward option. So if you can find something that you can value that highly, that people will want, always provide it as an option. So this seems really oxymoronic, but we've spoken to FanForce, who are kind of a crowdsourcing next step. So say you run a campaign with us, and you've got all this data from all your supporters and all this stuff, and then you want to go and do screenings and things like that. FanForce are a great organisation that crowdsource screenings around the country. So they hook you up with people in towns around the country, and then they'll run a screening for you there. They also help with distro as well. There'll be a link to FanForce in the email tomorrow. They suggest if you want to then take that step to do distro and things like that afterwards, try to avoid offering tickets to screenings and copies of the film. If you can avoid offering them now, you're going to make a lot more money on your film in the future because you're able to offer that as the next step to the remarketing to the people that have supported you to your campaign. I hope that makes sense, but why give that to them now if you know that they're going to jump on board and give you $50 for some other things when you know that they're going to want to go and see your film as well. So if it's something you want to do in terms of distro, try to avoid offering these things. Okay, now once you've thought about all those 5 steps, these are the next big things that you need to think about. So your story, your graphics or visuals, your pitch video, your preparation, early momentum and updates. So your story seems obvious. Make yourself memorable. Why do people want to fund your film instead of your film? What makes you interesting, and what makes you as a creator interesting? This creates context around your project as well, and then it makes it easier to pitch it to the press if that's something you're wanting to do during your campaign or after the fact. So think about your story. What angle do you want to pitch it at? That should be your description. This seems obvious, but graphics and visuals make your campaign look better. It makes it so much more shareable. So people become more and more aware of how their social media is looking and things like that. So if you have good images, they're more likely to share it on their page. If you've got a terrible photo, people probably aren't going to share it. They'll just pledge to it quietly and move on. It seems silly, but it's very, very true. So these are 5 examples of film projects that had good visuals. They obviously all hit their targets, but they're super simple and they just depict bits of the film. This was a student film that hadn't been made. They just took a photo. The film was being shot on film. Sounds stupid, but it was analog film. So they just took a disposable camera photo and put their text over it, and it fit with the context of the film. So even if you've not got something created, you can make something suitable. Pitch video. Campaigns with pitch videos are 19% more successful than those without, because you're creating a trust with your supporters. It's not just text on a page. It's a person talking about a passion project of theirs. So it can make all the difference. And if you're sitting there for a minute and a half, 2 minutes saying, I want to make this film because this, this, and this, pledge now, or having someone read through that, which one are you more likely to pledge to? Under 2 minutes, people get bored. It doesn't need to be super fancy or expensive. Obviously, you guys might have more at your disposal than general creators will, but it can just be filmed on an iPhone or a computer camera. Just be you talking and explaining why you want to do it. Be passionate and enthusiastic. Be yourself, though, so don't try to be funny if you're not a funny person. It seems really fake. We watch a lot of pitch videos, and there are really good ones, and there are really bad ones. Preparation is very, very important, and we hate seeing projects that have just been thrown up there in the hope that they'll get money. Before you look at these numbers and say they don't add up to 100, people could choose more than one option. So we surveyed unsuccessful creators, and these were the reasons they chose for why their campaign was unsuccessful. No promotional strategy was a big one. They didn't think that they needed to promote their campaign to get any money to it. You're not going to be able to just put your campaign page up there and receive pledges. You need to promote it. Target too high. Think about your stretch targets and how you can kind of lower your initial target. And then other is things like, I forgot that I was running a campaign, or offered one reward option and it ran out. Things like that. So plan your promotional strategy in advance. Plan your assets in advance. Have a folder on your Google Drive or your Dropbox with pictures you can use if you need to post something to social media. Share that stuff with us so we know what's going on. If you're doing press, tell us. Share it with us. If you're doing a radio interview, tell us before the interview, not afterwards. Things like that. Just be kind of on your feet and reactive to what's going on, because we want to help you as much as we can, but if we don't know what's going on, we can't really do that. Okay, so before, when I spoke about core supporters and your 30%, this is everything. So try to plan your promotional and rollout strategy in segments. So say you've got an email list, or you've got multiple different Facebook pages, a personal one, a public one, you've got a Twitter account, and you have your email list, right? When you first launch your campaign, maybe you launch it on a Monday morning, launch it in private to your family and friends, your core supporters. Send them a private email, send them a Facebook message, get them pledging straight away to get you to that 30% as quickly as you can. And then maybe on the Tuesday afternoon, you've got your 30% on board, and that's when you start posting more publicly. Maybe you've had interactions with a specific group of people before. Maybe share it with just those people the next day and get them on board. So then you're slowly rolling it out from market to market. And then as you get to the people that maybe are least likely to pledge, there's the most amount on board to that point. People that don't know you will be more likely to pledge if there's more money in the campaign. Use your updates. These people that are pledging to a crowdfunding campaign, they're your best supporters for the future, for everything you do in the future. So create a relationship with them. Keep them updated with what you're doing. If something's delayed, just tell them. People are pretty relaxed if you communicate with them. So just thanks like this. You can use the updates in your campaign page, or you can send the email, or you can post it on your social media, things like that, but keep people updated. They really love to know what's going on. When you are running a campaign, even if you're unsuccessful, you'll get a CSV file of the email addresses and other information of everyone that's pledged to your campaign. So that can be the start of an email list if you don't have one yet. So just keep in touch with these people. Obviously don't overload them, but just keep in touch, see how they're going. And promotion. How do you normally promote to your market? Are you, at the moment, exclusively using social media? That's fine, but that should be the place you start and then branch out from there. Maybe you've just got an email list and you don't really use social media. Same thing. When you're using social media, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth later, try to have a presence on those media before you start asking for money. Email newsletters are great, blogs are great, pitching to press kind of thing. Running events, so maybe you're involved in someone else's screening and you just have an iPad, or you're taking cash donations or pledges, we can facilitate those. Just speak to us about that. Influencers, really depends on what you're kind of doing, but if you've got an actor that's quite well known working on your film, ask them to post it for you. Don't be scared to ask for that sort of stuff, because it's helping them, because you're probably trying to pay them with some of the money, right? So use those networks that you've got. I know social media causes a lot of people to groan, but it's a very useful tool. Scheduling tools are great. Most have a free version, and if not, they've got a trial version that conveniently lasts the length of a 4-week campaign. Email lists, journalist or publication contact database, prepare that in advance. Look up film blogs and things like that, find out who runs them, and just get a list together so that you're not scrambling to pitch when you've hit that 30% mark. And your rollout plan. So maybe you've just got an Excel spreadsheet with, on this date I'm doing this, on this date I'm doing this. Just have an idea of what you're trying to do so that you're not stressed when it's already launched. 2 to 3 social media platforms is best. More than that, you start to stress out a little bit and you forget, and it looks a little bit shit if you've forgotten to post to one of them but you're posting really well on others. If you're using, say, Instagram and Facebook, post to them separately. Don't post to Instagram and just have it automatically share to your Facebook. It looks super unprofessional. And the tagging and all those sorts of things are completely different, so people will know if you're just kind of posting to one and it just gets shared across. These seem like minor things, but it can really make the difference. Research effective posting schedules for each. So every social media platform has a different kind of schedule that people go on it. We have a post that we'll share with you that has a whole bunch of scheduling tool options and best times to post to a lot of those. So keep your eye on the email tomorrow. That will help. And develop your community or following on these platforms. Don't get a Twitter account, have 10 followers and ask for money. Start posting now, getting involved with filmmakers or actors or things like that on those media. And then when you do start asking for money, you're a relevant part of that community to then be asking for money. Why crowdfund? Building your community, that's the biggest part of it. So I ran a campaign a few years ago. The biggest part we got out of it wasn't the money, but it was the contact and the relationships with the people that pledged, who continued to support us by coming to shows and doing all those sorts of things for the years to come. So make the most of that. Don't just see it as a way to make money. It's low risk because it's not going to cost you anything if you don't succeed, and you'll have data from those that did pledge. Pre-sale tool, if you do want to pre-sell something, it's a really handy way to do it. You can gauge your audience and you keep control of your project. You can't have competitions, raffles in your rewards. No equity if that's something you want to speak to us about. We do have a sister company that does do that. Nothing that breaks Australian law. Don't offer guns as rewards. Things like that. To offer alcohol as a reward, you just need a liquor license on your page. If you want any more info about that, speak to us. There are a couple of other guidelines, but those are the main ones. Fees, obviously. Platform fees are 5%. Credit card fees are 1.75% plus 30 cents per pledge. And PayPal fees are 2.4% plus 30 cents per pledge. Depending on the method of payment, that will be charged. It's not going to be both. That can be a bit confusing to some people. So we've done a little bit of a mock-up. So the average target set by successful creators is $7,000. The average pledge amount is $81. So this is what your fee structures will look like based on this. So merchant fees come to $148.60, so that's the 1.75% plus 30 cents per pledge. Platform fees, 5%, $350, so you leave with $6,501.40. That obviously changes depending on the number of pledges and things, but that's just an example. Okay, features. So, Google Analytics plugin, if you've got a website or things like that, Google Analytics is awesome. Facebook Pixel is probably a little bit more relevant to you guys. If people don't know what the Facebook Pixel is, it's sneaky. It's super useful though. So, if everyone remembers Mark Zuckerberg being in Congress in America recently, that's kind of what this was about. If you're logged into Facebook on your Chrome browser, you don't have to have Facebook open, but it'll track what you're looking at. So it'll see that you're maybe looking at a pair of jeans or whatever you're looking at, and that's how it remarkets to you when you go back to Facebook, and it shows you those specific ads. You can actually plug your Facebook Pixel into your campaign page, and it can do a similar thing for you, so you can remarket to those people, not just during your campaign, but for the long term. You can save that as an audience. So you may be doing this film now, but maybe in 2 years' time, you're doing another film and you want to remarket to these people. It's all going to be stored in your Facebook. And it's creepy, but it also is effective. Booking fee options. So if you don't want to take those fees on yourself, you can add a booking fee. You can match the platform fee so that gets added on to the supporter rather than charged to you. Automatic receipting. If anyone has tax deductibility, I'm not sure if that's relevant, but if you do, we can do automatic receipting for that. Same as GST to you guys. Templates. If you find a campaign that you really like, let us know. We can create a template for you. You can just put your info into whatever they've done. Guest checkout. People don't need a profile to be able to pledge to you guys, so you'll get more pledges that way, especially from older people who don't want to create accounts. And if you ever need to speak to one of us, you can book a phone chat with Tracy or you can email me. I mean, you can talk to me on the phone too, but I'm less fun. This is my email address. Take this down and email me with any of your questions. Tracy will be emailing you tomorrow, but Tandy have mine too. And I'm always there to answer any questions, or if you want to come in and have a chat with us, please feel free to just hit us up. Questions? Yes? That's okay.
You miss initial momentum. Does that slow your entire graph run down?
So if you...
Something like YouTube, for example, when you upload a video, if you have initial momentum coming to that video, YouTube promotes your video a bit more. If you get more initial momentum to Pozible, does Pozible help boost your campaign a bit more?
So we will help promote campaigns if they're doing well, if they've hit that 30%. It doesn't matter if it's early on or later on. If your campaign is getting pledges, we'll promote it. If you share that sort of stuff with us that I said before as well, in terms of imagery, press that you're doing, if you keep communicating that stuff with us, we'll be more likely to share yours because it's easier for us. We have a newsletter that goes out weekly, and we have all our social media channels. If you give us assets to use in those, we're more likely to do it. So just hit us up with as much as you can. We usually will start promoting campaigns once they hit that 30% mark, because it's kind of no use us promoting it until those core supporters are on board. But once you do, we're more likely to support it. Other questions? Yep.
Our approach we're thinking about is actually
Yeah, we do have people that use campaigns as a marketing strategy more than a funding strategy. Gaby Baby is a good example of that. I'm not sure if you guys are across that, but what they did was run their first campaign under the guise of creating a short film with a $10,000 target, and they promoted that like crazy. They hit that target really quickly, and then 6 months down the track, they launched a new campaign for their feature film, which was the end goal of what they were doing. And through that promotion, they got $100,000 pledged. So if you promote it in the way that you want to and set your target low, I'm sure you'll be able to do that, because then you'll gather that data as well. It won't just be about press, but it'll be about gathering that data of people interested in your project. So you can effectively use it as an expression of interest campaign if your target's low, and do it that way.
Yeah, that's very similar. So as a short film, then a bigger documentary later on. Get short. But just one other thing, in privacy.
Yep.
I know there's new privacy laws coming into the UK.
Yep.
Do you know, do these comply?
Yes, we comply with the new GDPR stuff. Tracy's actually just come back from living in the UK, so she's the boss of all that stuff. So speak to her. She's Australian, but she's got a British accent, so we make fun of her. Any other questions?
I've got another question regarding the early momentum.
Yep.
So I've been running a Patreon page for quite a while now. And,
Yep.
I find it hard to get early momentum because my family and friends, well, not friends, they don't earn money, and my family, they don't want to support this.
Yep.
And so it's really hard to get that 30% initial early momentum.
Yep.
How else would you kind of get that?
I guess the difference in this term from Patreon, I have my own Patreon page as well. Getting people to sign on for the long term versus a one-off pledge is a really different mindset. So asking your friends if they can pitch in $5 for once, as compared to signing up to a monthly subscription, could be the turning point for your friends. And just consider setting your target lower. Consider what you can actually do. And if you've got 5 friends that can each give you $10, just go with it and base it around that. And then if you find that you're getting better press and things like that around your project than you expected, you can just be setting stretch targets on top of that. So just be conservative, and then go from there. There was a question up the back. Yes.
I have 2.
Yep.
I was a little late, so forgive me if you covered it.
That's okay.
What advantages does Pozible have over other crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter and GoGo?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Yeah.
We're completely Australian, so all of us, we're a team of 4, but we just have an office in Collingwood. We're locally based, and we have a lot more local support, and our fees are lower. So if you want to save money that way, but also, yeah, we're just here, and we have better relationships with the Australian market than necessarily those bigger sites do. And because we are a little bit smaller, you do stand out a little bit more on our site. We do have the homepage. And if you do get that 30% jumping on board early in your campaign, you'll shoot to the top of our homepage and things like that. And you had a second question?
And then secondly, since you are much smaller,
Yep.
do you have cases of people launching campaigns on Pozible and another crowdfunding platform?
People tend to do them in terms of when they're reaching each market.
Okay.
You can't have a campaign running on Pozible and on another crowdfunding site at once. But if you launch it on Pozible wanting to attack the Australian market and then you go to one of the others to launch in America, we've seen that done before for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you go first.
Sorry. So is it possible to do Pozible and Patreon?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, gotcha.
You behind? Yeah.
So, I missed the beginning as well, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
But, do we have options to go with an all or nothing scheme, or is it a refundable if we don't hit the target?
So it has to, yeah, we only do all or nothing. So what actually happens when people pledge to an all or nothing campaign is they're making a pre-approval of payment. And then once you hit your target, that's when the money gets taken. So if you don't hit your target, no refunds have to be made or anything because no money's actually been taken from anyone yet. As soon as you do hit target, that's when we start capturing. Payment, PayPal will start to pay you as soon as you hit your target. You'll get that individually one by one if you choose to use PayPal. Credit card, we transfer as a lump sum and it arrives about 12 days after your campaign ends. So we take a 7-day grace period to collect funds from people, give them the chance to fix their pledge if it's been declined, and then we transfer the money, and it takes about 3 to 5 days on the bank's end. So just plan that in your timeline as well, because it can take 2 weeks. Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned that you have a great local presence
Yep.
in Australia. What about international?
Internationally, we do have a presence. We do get a lot of pledges from international bases, but they tend to be from the press and marketing that the creators have done. We don't reach those ourselves, so we do a little bit of press pitching and things like that to local blogs and things like that, but we don't reach internationally. If you pitch internationally, we definitely do get pledges, and campaigns can be run in multiple different, I think it's 25 different currencies. But yeah, we don't pitch internationally, if that makes sense. Yes?
Do you have like an idea of what rewards work best, and if they are best working if they're directly related to the project, or if they're just based on the skills of the people involved in the project?
Both work. So people don't think that they can offer things that aren't exactly part of the project. So film naming credits, things like that. But also, if there's a cafe that you shot a part of the film in, or that you just go to every day, and they want to give you 10 free coffee cards, and you want to put them up for $10 with a social media shout out, people love that. People just want to give you money, but they want to feel like they're getting something in return. If you can get local businesses involved and put their name on things, and they'll start promoting it as well, that even better. If you've got a skill that's completely unrelated, if you're in a band and you want to do a house gig, or you want to give away your records, or I'm a music person, if anyone can tell that all my examples are music related, sorry. If you've got that other stuff, offer it. And then if you're halfway through the campaign, no one's chosen it, you can just take it down. Don't feel restricted. Yep.
What's the average for short films, the average successful pledge kind of number?
About $7,000 as a target is the average successful target for campaigns, especially in film. We get a lot more that are like way less. Some of them, as you saw an example, $700. That's all they needed to get over the line. Some are way more, but as I said, it's better to be conservative. Do your budgeting. If you're concerned about your budget, contact us and we'll talk you through it.
So for strategy, we can count on you guys to kind of give us some tips?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll give you feedback at any time you need. Tracy and I will be the people you're speaking to, but we're always kind of on hand. And if we're not, then just shoot us an email and we'll get to it as soon as we can. Yep.
You mentioned a really good point earlier about building a social media presence
Yep.
or doing any sort of crowdfunding stuff.
Yep.
But I was actually thinking using the crowdfunding money to do more promotion. So how would we do the initial promotion to build a presence before?
Just get involved in communities. Twitter is great for that kind of thing, and Instagram, where you can be hashtagging and things like that, and become involved in your community. It's actually really easy if you're active amongst that community, especially on Twitter, to get a little bit of a following. It's super easy. You just need to be interesting for one, which if you know what you're talking about, you're going to be interesting to that group of people, but also just respond to people, interact with people. Once you start doing that, it kind of snowballs for you. And Twitter, we haven't tested much of the promoted posts on Twitter. That's more of an organic thing where you're just having conversations with people, so maybe that's your best place to start. Facebook ads can actually be really cheap if you know how to do them. Doing things like dark posts and things which will send you instructions on how to do. You could spend $50 on ads for your whole campaign, and you could get so many conversions if you're targeting it correctly. So don't be scared of Facebook advertising. There was a question up the back?
Yeah. Do you find it better when posting your budget to include the fees as
Yeah.
part of it?
Yeah, include the fees. It just shows that you're being transparent with supporters. They're not going to care that some of the money's going to fees on the site that you're using. They'll care that you're being honest with them. Yep.
What do you do when the niche that you're targeting consists or has a large portion that consists of kids that don't earn money?
Find a way to target their parents. Do you know another music example? But do you know that the most profitable band in Australia's history is the Wiggles? because of merch and because parents will buy it for their kids. So if you can find a way to target the parents, you'll be able to make that money. That sounds really dark. I'm sorry. But it's true. So find a way to... So maybe an experience would be good. Maybe having the kids on set with their parents or something like that. Find a way to get the parents involved as well, not just targeting the kids.
Merch is actually a really good idea, but would you start investing in merch when you don't have an initial budget to start off with?
That's a handy part. So what you can actually do is you've got to set an estimated delivery date on your rewards. So say you're starting a campaign in August, you can set your estimated delivery date as December. So you know once your campaign is finished how many you need to create so you don't go over the top and you haven't outlaid all this money for something you're not going to get rid of. More questions? Yep.
When you read people's blurb about
Yep.
their funding for their film, a common thing will be, okay, this is our crew.
Yep.
This is our creative director, we're doing this. It's all our hard work and sweat and tears and blood and all the rest of it. And none of us are getting paid. And all this, what we're raising is for the film.
Yep.
How, well, what would your comment be on that? Is it a successful strategy? I mean, because speaking from a punter's point of view, so if I'm going to donate money to a film, I don't want to be paying for the director's cups of coffee or whatever they're,
Yep.
you know, or their, what to pay for their rent, or I don't know what the psychology of it is.
Yeah.
But if I'm contributing to a film, I would say, oh, I want to make sure they get good cameras or something like that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So if anyone didn't hear that, so pledging, and when you're setting up your budget, show the items and things you need to pay for. If you've got salaries that you need to pay, you're probably not going to fund the whole project on a campaign anyway. Use any other funds that you get to pay your salaries, and then use your campaign to fund specific parts of the film. So color correction, cameras, locations, things like that. Those are the things you should be crowdfunding. If you do need to pay salaries, try to do that with other funds that you receive elsewhere, because you're completely correct. People are less likely to give you money that's just going to go in someone's pocket. People want to give it on the basis that you need it to finish the film. Yep.
Do we have any analytics on what the most popular reasons are that people donate to or pledge to campaigns?
We don't have that sort of data, but it tends to be, one, core supporters, and two, projects people find interesting. You don't even have to know who the project creator is. The Stringy Bark film that we just talked about, that's a student from Geelong. He just managed to pitch to press really well. He got covered in The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, and in a day he got 20 grand into his campaign. Gaby Baby's another one. They just used the first campaign as a marketing strategy, and then they got $100,000 into the next campaign because they'd marketed really well. So they've reached these audiences and made use of the data that they got from the first campaign to remarket. The Melbourne map is not a film example, but they got press in The Age. Their target was $20,000, and they got $80,000 in 2 days because of The Age. So if you've got a story that's interesting and you pitch it to press properly, there's no reason you can't do those sorts of things, but be conservative with your initial target, because you can raise as much over it as you possibly can. You just need to hit that first target.
Do you have any statistics on the conversion rate to Patreon after Pozible?
We don't, I'm sorry. No. Yep.
Is there any chance that you guys would help us pitch?
Pitch to press. We do some campaigns. We tend to do the campaigns that are higher targets, but just talk to us. We'll see what we might be able to do for you depending on the timing and all that kind of stuff.
Before we launch it or during the campaign?
No, so pitch to press once you've hit your 30% mark. You don't want public seeing it, as we said, that kind of tipping point. You want the public seeing it once you've hit that 30%. That's why you segment your market and do all those things. Start pitching to press once you've hit that. So then it makes better use of the publicity you might get. Yeah.
Also, have you had any experience with people who make a video, if they make some sort of maybe one of the scenes or a short trailer for their film,
Don't use a trailer. Use the people involved in the project talking about the project. People want to know that you're passionate about it. They kind of don't care what the trailer looks like, even if you've got one. It sounds silly. If you really want to include the trailer, you can embed it into your campaign page like you can with pictures, but make it people involved in the film talking about why they want the film to finish or be successful. People like the human connection. As we said, create trust with supporters, and that will do it with you talking to camera or you speaking on set rather than kind of a cold trailer that you've created that everyone else is going to see anyway. And include a call to action. Ask people to pledge or ask people to support you at the end of your pitch video if you can, because that gives people a prompt to then take the next step. Yep.
You can add multiple videos as you continue the campaign.
Yeah, so what'll happen is you'll have a hero image at the top of your campaign and your pitch video will be behind that. So there's a big play button, people will press it and it'll play. And then in your campaign, you can embed videos from Vimeo or YouTube that people can watch in between all your text, and you can include photos there too. So you can have those videos, but don't make it your pitch video. Any more questions? Currently we have quite a few. We've probably got upwards of 15, 20 maybe. We've got a lot of student films at the moment. A lot from Malaysia and Singapore we get. We recently had the Stringy Bark one just be successful. We had a Melbourne music documentary recently be successful. We've got quite a few. We just launched our Film.Pozible collection as well, which kind of puts them all into one spot, so it's much easier to find. And then there's links to FanForce on that collection as well. So you can launch it and it'll be on that platform as well as on Pozible.
So other than films, what other media has people tried to
Oh, you can pretty much fund any sort of project on Pozible. So a community good one. So at the moment we've got one running that's up to $139,000 raised for an NBN network in a small country town in New South Wales. We've got heaps of music stuff because of me telling people to come to us. We've got obviously film, a lot of books. What else do we have, Tracy? Get involved. Yeah, social good is a big one. Environmental is a big one. Conservation. Yeah, that sort of stuff. But pretty much anything. We did have a lot of tech for a while. That's died down a little bit. But they're kind of, it's weirdly seasonal that stuff comes through. Obviously student films will come through in a big bunch because everyone's films are due at the same time. Any other questions? Yeah?
Do you have to actually open a special account for this money?
Nope. No, you can just put your bank account or the bank account of the organisation you're running it on behalf of, and PayPal. Just make sure if you're using PayPal as well, you can run a campaign with PayPal enabled, credit card enabled, or both. No pressure on either one. Credit card is cheaper. But if you're using PayPal, just make sure that your account is not limited and it's verified. If you need to understand what those mean, just tell us and we'll give you the right links to make sure all that is okay. Okay, we're going to get Robbie up here now. Robbie's run a campaign before, a very successful campaign. And I'm going to ask him really annoying questions, and he's going to talk about his experience. We just found out Robbie lives right next to our offices, and that's why he looks familiar to us.
Yes. Some people here are my students as well, so apologies that I'm the
Stalk
guest.
him.
I'm sorry, there was someone else, but they pulled out. Let's put this down here.
So,
all right. Should I set it up firstly with the project?
Yep. Tell us what the project was.
It was a feature film I made. Wow, it was in production I think 2012, so it's taken a really long time to get finished. We were right up near the. We were in post production, and we needed to get a new budget together to get the film completed. So we were pretty much at the point where we had to crowdfund. So we put together a whole crowdfunding package, and we reached our target. We were trying to get 10 grand to cover the sound design and some of the other post-production elements, and it was a success. What did you end up raising?
10 grand,
$10,000.
Right on 10?
I can't remember.
It was a bit over.
It might have been a little bit over, yeah. Don't know where that money went. No. Yeah, so, yeah, it was, we had a lot of stuff. So, our film had been featured on a lot of big film websites. Like there was one that used to be called Twitch, that's now called Screen Anarchy. We had a lot of traction with some of the other ones. We had sort of deals where we were releasing teasers and giving them premieres on certain websites, and we were releasing artwork. So we had quite a lot of stuff, visually interesting stuff to put on the site, which I think helped a lot. But yeah, at the end of the day, I had to sort of make a kind of awkward video and do all that stuff, put my face on it. And it worked well, yeah. I certainly learnt a lot. I'm not really a real social media savvy person, but I was forced into that situation. So, yeah, it worked out okay. And the film's been sold, so it's got international sales. So there's a big happy ending to it. So, yeah, it's only recently been finished. Believe it or not. That's the indie film game, so...
What would you do differently next time?
What, filmmaking-wise, or so?
Crowdfunding-wise.
Crowdfunding-wise, Crowdfunding-wise, it's a tough one. I did one prize where I was like, I would thank people personally by writing a thing on the Facebook. One of the things I learned is when the Facebook, if you don't keep having updates, the whole thing kind of dies out, and you really need to keep your Facebook page, this is what I learned, really active, so you need to have a lot of posts, but you do get fatigue from writing thank yous, you know what I mean? If you're trying to be clever and funny, which I tried to do at the start. I didn't get the advice that if you're not funny, don't try and be funny. But so I started off with like big, long thank yous that were like, you know, jokes and all this crap. And then as it went along, they got shorter and shorter and shorter as the more exhausted I got. But it's really tiring. It's physically tiring. That's what I found about the whole thing. So yeah, possibly would change that prize. But yeah, it was definitely the $50 kind of one that was the most popular. So yeah.
Have you kept in touch with your supporters?
Yeah, a little bit. That was a while ago now, so I haven't been in touch with them recently. What's happened at the moment, because we've got international sales, we can't let everyone know until they announce it on their slate. So we have to wait until the sales agent makes the announcement. So I can't really put the word out to everyone at the moment, but except for you guys in secret, although it's getting streamed. But yeah, so I have to wait until that's official, and then I can do all that stuff. So it's just been very long.
Saved all that data that you got during the
Their
campaign?
contact details?
Yeah.
Yep, I've got all that. So I'm definitely going to let them all know. And yeah, I put everyone's name in the credit. Like that wasn't part of the deal, but in the end, I just put everyone who contributed's name in the credit. So
sweet.
Yeah.
And what do you think was most effective in bringing people to your page?
Well, you guys featured it on your main page for a while, so it must have been over the 30% thing. So that actually got a lot of, because the majority of people with film crews, there's a lot of people that work on a film, so they have a lot of contacts, and it actually really branches out really well. But there were contributions from people I had never even met. So I think that they'd actually, I think there might be people out there who would just go to crowdfunding sites. And
don't rely on that.
I don't know. I don't know what the psychology is behind that. I definitely have never done that. But there were people that were reaching out to me and getting other filmmakers in Australia and giving money and wanting to chat and stuff. So yeah, it is a real community, I think, indie film. So yeah.
And in terms of pitching to press, what was your angle?
Well, we did a whole press release for the crowdfund. So we wrote it up as a press release, and that got featured in Film Inc. And Cinema Australia and Inside Film. There might have been a couple of other just Australian film sites. God, what was the angle? I can't remember. Give us money. I'm trying to think. I know we had something clever. Yeah, it's just that personal thing, you know. If you're a filmmaker, it's exactly like what Gemma was saying. It's all about your story. That's what people care about the most. They want to hear about you and what you've gone through and your whole journey. You know, they don't just want to see teasers and trailers. I mean, it's great to have all that stuff, but yeah, they're more interested in you as a practitioner. And that's in general, especially if you're starting out, because you don't have credits to draw on. All you have is passion, and people respond really positively to passion. They really do. So,
does anyone have any questions for Robbie in terms of crowdfunding film, not in terms of classroom things?
Yeah.
How did you initially
I don't know. It sort of spikes. Like the graph before, it goes like you get super excited at the start because you think it's going to be this tremendous hit, and you're going to make all this money, and then it just dies out in the middle, and that's the real, that's the dark period. That's when you know you sort of like panic, and you're trying to get the word. Keep resharing, and you keep hassling the same people, and yeah, I don't know. The first one, because it's new, I guess, and you try and hit everyone, and it's weird because you want to keep you want to keep making it look like it's a winner. So if you do, this is a technique, but if you have a little bit of money that you just put things in every now and then just to keep it like moving, because you're going to, potentially get it back on the other end. I don't know. That was just a part of what our strategy was. So you don't want to make it look like you're not a winner.
Another great thing to do in that lull period, I've just remembered, Facebook Live and Instagram Live are excellent for this. Going live on Facebook and saying that as a filmmaker you'll do X if someone pledges and they request that. We had a music documentary that recently did it. They went live for 14 hours. I don't recommend doing that, but they went live for 14 hours straight, and they were just doing anything that anyone that pledged asked them to do. And I mean anything. They would do push-ups. They called it Spaghetti Live, and they ate cold spaghetti out of a tin. All people had to do was prove that they pledged and then comment on the video. People could pledge $5 and get something, but it was getting people pledging because they wanted to see their friends do something stupid. So people would pledge multiple times as well. So if you've got something you can offer in terms of a Facebook Live strategy or whatever, if you've got a musician friend that has done music for the film and they'll play songs requested, make use of that. People love getting involved in things as it's happening, and it'll make people do it really quickly without them being like, I'll do it a bit later.
I don't know what I would have done had I done that. I would have done anything. It was a dark period, that lull in the middle. Yeah.
It happens to everyone, I promise.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What rewards work best for you?
Our rewards are pretty. They weren't too fancy, really. We had some really cool artwork. So we had a sort of a poster. The higher the prices got, they just become more kind of boutique items. The most popular one was a postcard. I think we did a cool postcard, and then I'd hand write, a bunch of stuff on the back and drew pictures and all this stuff, sent it off. But that, it was a cool looking little card. It was a fun little personal gesture, and I think that was probably the most popular one. So.
And postcards are really cheap to mail.
Yeah.
That's why people love postcards.
Yeah, they're just nice. Everyone in here would like to get a postcard. Everyone. Yes.
In terms of the 10K for a feature,
Yep.
did that work out for you?
The what, sorry?
Did that work out for you? Was it enough?
Yes, it was. Yeah, so the film got finished. Obviously, with the feature film, the majority of the hard work in terms of budget stuff had been, because the film was in the can. It was edited, so it was completed. So it was just some little extra costs. To fund a feature from the ground up, I don't even, that would be a totally different thing. So that would require a completely different strategy. So, but even this one was quite difficult to pull off. So yeah, but it's all possible. There's a lot of films that have done that, haven't they? They've been filmed from the ground up.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes. There was a question here.
Yeah.
Just wondered what the monetary amount was for that postcard.
Good question. What you mean to get it printed and?
No, I meant.
Oh, how much did I charge? Oh, yeah. 20. I think it was 25. I think it might have been. Yeah, and then the next one up was a poster, and that was 50. So if you want me to hand write it, it's going to cost you a little bit extra. Let's put a little bit more effort in. But yeah, that's it's obviously it's a specialty thing. So it's for someone who wants a postcard from an indie film that's been written by the director.
So for physical goods, did you pay for shipping or did they have to pay for shipping?
I just paid for that. So yeah.
You can add that as an option though, to charge for shipping.
Yeah. It's really inexpensive though. It doesn't cost very much if you're sending postcards out.
Would you put the cost of producing the rewards in your budget?
No, but be mindful of that in your reward amount.
Yeah.
People, when they pledge to a crowdfunding campaign, they know that they're not paying just for the item. They know they're supporting a project getting off the ground. So say a t-shirt costs you $15 to get made and you charge $50 with a social media shout out, people will pledge for that, obviously within reason.
They really do. It seems weird. You wouldn't think they do, but people really do. They really get involved in it. It's
People
great.
are nice sometimes.
They are, yeah. Certainly restored my faith in humanity. Yes, Julian.
Where do you make t-shirts?
Oh, there are heaps of places. And if you can say that you're doing it all locally, people love you even more for that. Just Google it. Google Melbourne t-shirt printing. There's heaps of places, especially North Side, Fitzroy, Collingwood. There's heaps of t-shirt pressing plants.
It's one on Johnston Street, isn't it?
There is one on Johnson Street.
Yeah.
All of the above, I think, is just off Brunswick Street as well. They use AS Colour t-shirts. I'm doing music merch stuff in my head right now. Tote bags are great. Tea towels are great. Postcards, as we said. If you've got cool artwork for your film, do that. Music from your soundtrack, all of that stuff's good. Anything that costs you nothing to create as well, even better. You know how I said about the don't offer screenings and things like that? If you want to offer a private screening for someone and 10 of their mates for $1,000, you can offer that because that's not going to cut into your distribution down the track, but try to limit it to things like that.
Especially with an indie, with a feature, there's the you don't want to have a public screening, so you want to make sure it's classified as a cast crew screening, because that can affect your festival strategy and so on.
During your month of the campaign,
Mm-hmm.
do you know how much time was spent on the campaign itself?
Yeah, it was a lot. You know, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say it was easy. I'd put a lot of effort in. You know, so I mean, it was just it was a way of you know, getting the film finished. So it was really positive, and I completely would do it again. And I learnt a lot, but it definitely was work. I mean, it wasn't just I didn't just sit back and watch the dollars roll in. So yeah, it was, you know, I had to keep on top of it and thinking of new things to like. I came up with there's some VFX in the film, so I got the visual effects artist to do a wireframe of a visual effects design, and then I ran that as an article on Screen Anarchy, which is an big indie film international webpage, and that kept kicking up interest in the movie. So every time the interest got kicked up, it would all loop back to the Pozible. So yeah, you just got to keep on your toes, just keep thinking the whole time. The worst thing I think you could do is just, you know, hope that it works out. You just want to stay active and engaged with everyone. So.
Did you pump in any money for marketing your Pozible page?
No. That was all just the same thing. Hard work. You know, if you really apply yourself, you'll be surprised how much stuff you can get done, and what you don't necessarily need a budget for. You know, but I mean, definitely cool artwork is such a people. If something seems cheesy or not up to scratch, I think they check out. You know, so if I was going to put money into something, it would probably be just making sure that the posters and the conceptual stuff's really good looking. So, because I mean, then there's no difference between your project and a bigger budget film, because you'll have a poster that's just as good. And if you don't show too much, people will never know. You know, I'm serious. It's crazy, but it's true. Like don't show what you don't have that's what they say in indie films. So if you don't have big explosions and big stars, don't show that. Just be mysterious. And, you know, sometimes bigger films have mysterious campaigns as well. So, yeah.
Does anyone want to pitch? Don't be scared. You'll have 30 seconds to pitch. Just pitch your story, and I will cut you off at 30 seconds. Come on. I know. Yep.
Okay.
Come on up. You'll steal Robbie's mic. Thanks, Robbie.
No worries.
The group. The concept of your film. Yes, and I will just get my timer up because I'm not joking. Ready?
Yes.
Go.
My name's Luke. I'm making a little short film about two frogs whose pond gets taken over by a gang of cane-toed tough guys. One of the frogs gets some toxin in his eyes and goes off into the bush and then the desert and has an existential trip about life and his place in it, while the other frog gets together with a koala and a crow and plots the demise of these cane toads who are gradually or rapidly taking over their pond. And then the frog that's tripping out has a...
30 seconds. You're done.
Well, that's basically it anyway.
Thank you. That was great. Who else wants to pitch? Come on, it's not scary. Yep, come on, Jennifer. We know Jennifer. She's got a good project.
Is the frog one animation or what is that?
Either
You're
or.
gonna
At
get
this
real
stage,
frogs.
yeah. If I can find a good animator, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I like the idea of live action.
Live action.
Live action frogs. Excellent.
Who can look like
Yep, so grab the mic.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm going to read off my cue sheet. So, about 25 years ago, a friend of mine was murdered by his wife and her lover, who was a butcher. For about a month, they thought they'd gotten away with it. On the day the cops arrested them, they refused to reveal where the body was. For the next 6 weeks until he was found, the local butcher could not get anyone to buy their meat, especially the sausages.
Excellent. Thanks, Jennifer. You can pitch? Yeah. That's okay. I didn't warn anyone because we like to see them off the cuff. 30 seconds. It's shorter than you think.
Okay, my name's Steve. I'm filming a spaghetti western. It's pretty much about a man who comes looking for vengeance and he finds something else instead and how he has to wrestle with it. Boom.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Who else is going to pitch? It's fun. Come on down.
Hi, my name is Josie Evans. I'd love to pitch you an idea for a web series called The Deadly Animals Who Don't Want to Die Alone Club. It's a comedy about a whole bunch of backpackers are murdered by drop bears, and so tourism in Australia absolutely plummets. So a group of deadly animals decide to create a new tourism campaign to bring tourists back to Australia.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm sure you want to pitch. Come on.
Oh my god, static. Sorry. Cool. Sorry. So my name is Julian Choi. I'm making a series called Levasleer. It's a animated medieval web series. It follows the story of Archduke Levasleer as he's abruptly thrust into the brutal, cold world of Levasleer and is forced to save the world from his greatest fear, the Ender. It's imbued with themes of racism, segregation, and identity, and it's a story about a cowardly underdog learning to move forward and live up to expectations.
Thank you. Yeah, come on.
seconds.
30 seconds, yep. And just grab the mic so everyone can hear.
Hi everybody. Okay, when Felix, a young homosexual monk, discovers his corrupt wind farm monastery has conspired with a corporate dictator to control CO2 levels, the whole world is threatened by a carbon war.
Anyone else? Yep, come on.
Hey everyone. Alright, so I have a little thing, a log line written, so I'm just going to read that to you. Yep. Just to give you an idea of how it's going to look. It's a 15-minute short. Oh, my name is Cass, by the way. And it's going to be presented in black and white grayscale. So an aspiring mime artist struggling with the receding relevancy of her art slowly loses her grip on reality as she prepares for an important audition.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? Really? Yes. That's okay. There was a 10-second one before.
Just freestyle. Free
Okay, I'm Ben.
Does anyone know what an ant mill is? It's a natural phenomenon where occasionally an ant will lose a pheromone trail of the one in front of it. And it will just end up in a big, big circle of ants going around and around and around, and they eventually all die. Happens all the time, some a whole mile wide. Mine is about 2 ants, they get into a fight, one fucks off, has his own existential crisis. Camus, Sartre's sort of like treaty, experiences it, and something happens in the end.
Excellent. That's fair. No one else? Any questions left? No? Okay, we'll wrap it up here then. Come and say hi to Tracy and myself if you've got questions you want to ask us directly. But as I said, feel free to email us. We'll send through a whole bunch of stuff tomorrow as well. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, we look forward to seeing some of these projects coming through. Thanks, guys.
So, you really answered this one. That being said, though, the way my project's currently going, because I started off my Patreon and it was like, I got a dollar from my dad, so it was like, well, there's not enough attention going. That's all right because my project doesn't rely on the budget. That being said, though, it needs attention. And I'm looking at Patreon in the future to be like a source of income, like actual income for me that I can sustain. So if I were to go into Pozible, I feel like that would be a good way to get attention, but money-wise, I don't have a need for a budget, but a budget would be nice as well. So my primary intention would be to get like a marketing.
Yeah, you could set a target of $200 and use it as a promo, and just say that it's for the initial 2 episodes or something of your web series, and then you can start to direct people across. If people are pledging there, as I said, you'll get all their contact information, and then you can speak to them about coming across to your Patreon if they're enjoying what they're seeing, and they can support you more potentially, and then you can sort out what sort of things you can offer in terms of the Patreon. So you can set a target at $200.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so don't feel like it needs to be a $7,000 project.
Yeah, because like I'm hearing all these like big numbers. I'm like, what am I gonna do with all the money?
We have plenty of films that they just need the last $300 to get that last little bit of time. So don't feel like you have too small a target to run a campaign. As long as you can hit the target, it doesn't matter.
Great, cool. Thank you.
It was lovely to meet you.
Thanks for the explanation. Well, actually, my friend funded this film recently with you guys.
Yeah, what was it called?
Nana.
Oh, yes, I saw that one.
He's my best friend.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that was a good campaign.
So yeah, he actually, to be honest with you, I think he did pretty shit. Like he didn't do any, he didn't put anything there, but he had some friends, like you know that 30% core that you were talking, that was his 100%.
Oh wow.
Like all friends and family, they gave him big stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you lucky bastard. He pretty much didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you run out of a certain price, can we like replenish it?
Yeah, so if you limited it to 10, and those 10 go really quickly and you want to add, you can always just up the amount available.
So that's cool.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. And if it's not working for you, just email us and we can definitely do that for you.
Right.
The only thing you can't do is delete a reward after you've already chosen it, or change it after.
Because that's going against your promise.
Exactly, yeah.
So when it's like all funded and all, then that's when you do the ship.
So, yeah, once you hit your target, that's when you start to send out rewards. Probably once the money's actually in your account, because even after you hit your target, some people's pledges may not go through, may not hit at the same time, so you don't want to be sending out rewards to people who haven't actually used the money. So just wait until those 12 days are up, and then that's when I start sending rewards out. How to write a press release? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we actually have a template press release that we can send to you that you just kind of, it has instructions on what you put where, and that'll give you kind of the outline. So we can send that in your email tomorrow as well. So that'll give you the idea, and then you can kind of adjust it a little bit to suit whatever you're doing. But that's a really good basis to then launch from. Yeah, so press releases can be tricky, but a lot of it will actually be what you've written on your campaign page as well. You just need to plug it into different parts of that piece of paper.
And then approaching different newspapers and things like that.
Yeah, so have a list of relevant media before you launch your campaign, and once you hit that 30%, start pitching to them. So if you're, like, there's nothing too big, it can't hurt to send it. As I said, there was a student film a couple of weeks ago that got in the Age, and that got them $20,000 of pledge. So we can't guarantee that you'll get that, but it can't hurt to send that out, you know? Don't think that you're too small to get that, because you never know what'll get people.
No, I know it's doable. Just got to get their interest. You know?
Exactly, yeah. So we will send you this press release template, and you can kind of go from there. Yeah. And as I said, if you're not sure about something or want feedback, just hit us up and we can go in and check. The best thing to do is start drafting in the system, because then we can actually see it through from our end. Exactly. So if you're doing it on an Excel spreadsheet or in a Word document, we can't see that from our end if you're asking us questions. But if you send us an email and be like, hey, I'm not sure about this, we can actually be looking at it and give you proper advice based on what you've done, which is so much more useful than just generic advice. And it kind of also works as a checklist for you as well. You can kind of go through it, okay, I've done that, that's working, I can move on to the next thing now. Whereas if you're just doing it on a Google Doc, it's just like, I don't know what else to add.